It's going to be great. Hey, just want to start out. We have a lot to cover this morning, and because we gave a bunch of lead time for questions, and we have four topics we're going to cover. I'm going to invite you, if you have questions, especially about the finances, we'll do a financial snapshot of where we are, a conversation about our stewardship, and then the conversation about revitalization after I answer the questions that were submitted. So if you have questions about the finance or stewardship, you're always welcome to post those, to send those in to us, to ask beforehand, or to ask Nick or Becky or me after the whatever we're doing now, town hall. That's the word. So there will be some time for question and comment during the revitalization part. If given time. Sorry, I'm starting a little bit late. We had an emergency that we're in the middle of taking care of. So I want to address the three questions. We had three questions sent in. The first one was, can the church set up live captioning because of auditory issues? And I had somebody in first service say they were struggling to hear and wish that we had that. And I'm like, okay. So what I'm going to need, if you know of those services and where we can get those, please have a conversation with Jake. Because the ones we've looked at have either been cost prohibitive or, how do I say this, ineffective. We'll go with that word. So if you know of some that are either not cost prohibitive and that will work with our system, we're going to need that information. So the second question was, how come there's no Bible study for men? And there is on Friday mornings for middle-aged men. Danae, what I've got is, because of this question, I asked several people who who have leadership gifts. I asked them if they'd be interested in starting. I've got 4 men who are interested in starting that. It will start during the Sunday school hour as soon as I can get that arranged. So ask, you shall receive. Thank you for the question. Good job. So a quick lesson. If you see a need, ask. Okay, because then I don't know there's an itch to scratch if I don't know there's an itch to scratch. The third question actually is going to relate more into our revitalization conversation. And that question was, what is going to happen if we have to go to one service? First services attendance has been, ever since COVID, has been going down. That's just part of most, and second service has been lower as well. And I shared with people in first service, because I knew not all of them would stay, that the average size of a church in America, does anybody know what the median size? Jack, you're not allowed to answer, and if you were in first service, that's not fair either. You've already heard this number. Don't cheat. So I'm just going to tell you, the average size is 65. It used to be 45, so that sounds like good news until you realize the reason it's now 65 is because a bunch of small churches have closed. Like several thousand small churches have closed across the nation. So that 65 number sounds really good, but really it should be closer to 45. And we're averaging 75 to 90 in first service. So I told them we're a long way from that, and the better conversation isn't what do we have to do if we need to go to one service. The better question is, how do we make new and maturing disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world? That's the question we're going to be focusing on. I got an amen on that? Thank you. Okay. So that was the answer to that question. That's what we're going to be focusing on. Okay. So those were the 3 questions. None of those really had to do with finance. And we had advertised this as a finance town hall, but in reality, it is a finance, stewardship, and revitalization. So Nick is going to give a quick snapshot of our finances. Becky is going to talk about, how many of you noticed that the lights were off out in the narthex? Did you notice it was a little bit dark? Yeah, okay. So if you noticed it was a little bit dark and your eyes were drawn to the grapevines, that a wonderful team put. That's our stewardship. We're talking about growing the fruitful on the vine of Christ, John chapter 15. And so we're working on that as our theme, and we're going to be talking about that over the next couple months.
Thank you, Kurt. I'm Nick Ficini. I'm your finance chair here at the church. When we had this town hall meeting back in February, I mentioned to you that we were going into 2026 with a $180,000 deficit. That's after we already cut the budget. Here you have a financial snapshot as of the end of July. I call it good news, a little bit under $28,000 deficit for the first 7 months of the year. So we've been good stewards of your money. And I could play along with that. There's another $6,000 of interest. We're close to about $20,000 in the red for 2026. You should have this handout, church revitalization on one side, expenses on the other. This is a snapshot as the end of July of the different areas of the church and their spending. And the bottom line on that, if you look on the over-unders, that spending's down by $24,000. Your leadership has been good stewards with your money. Now, we've lucked out on a couple things. Health insurance. We had a 3-month moratorium on paying health insurance. That was nice. That helps. We've had a gift of memorial of about, $30,000. We were able to pay for the lawnmower with that. So those things have been nice on that. The next thing I want to mention to you is that for stewardship, my plan at least is not to have a commitment Sunday per se. Actually, stewardship for 2027 starts today. We have the pledge card for you. We like to have these in by the 1st of November, Halloween. So you have, I put everything in perspective, Rita. I had a doctor's appointment. They rescheduled for 6 months the day after the Super Bowl. Super Bowl's on Valentine's Day next year. That's the only reason I knew that. Seriously. Anyway, between now and November 1st, we'd like to have your pledges in so we can work on the budget in November. So there's plenty of time. There's not going to be a commitment Sunday where you all bring it up at one time. You can start right now. Any questions? I know that's sort of quick, but any questions on the finances? I'll do my best I can on answer any questions you have.
So,
the mortgage is coming down. We're about $209,000 on the mortgage. We made one $10,000 extra payment earlier this year. We have, we're earning interest on our money. We've changed that over. Scott Gillespie, who's our
Ad council chair.
Ad council chair. He has invested the money. I was looking at this just a couple of days ago. He has invested money into U.S. government obligations, and we're earning over 4% on our money. Yeah.
So we've paid down the mortgage significantly. We have taken, so over COVID, there were several loans that were made available for small businesses. We were responsible with those, made sure, and so a little over 2 years ago now, our mortgage came due because it was a 5-year APR. And the interest was going to go from 4% to 8.5%.
Our mortgage payment would have doubled.
And because we were responsible with that money, we had money to, with the help of one of our members, to pay off the majority of that and refinance that in a far more beneficial mode. So between that, the mortgage being paid down, also our mower died. Between the monies that we have, that's and gifts, we paid that off. So we are doing. We're making responsible, healthy decisions. I just want you to know I am thankful for your faithfulness in giving that has helped make that happen. So we're going to...
Other questions?
So if you have questions, please talk with Nick afterward, or Becky or me. I'm going to hand it over to Becky I don't have the mic. You guys have to share.
Good morning.
Unless-
So okay. Good morning, I'm Becky Daigle, and I work with stewardship, and we're trying to get it started, and we've got a lot of great people that are wanting to help, and unfortunately they had me as a leader, so we're hoping to get a little bit going this fall and then really dive into it more next year. First, as Kurt said, you go into the lobby and the narthex and you'll see these vines that come together because everything works together. And before I talk about what the vines mean, I want to hopefully embarrass a little bit two people who have been amazing. If I don't embarrass you too much, Jean, Taylor, would you be willing? Taylor's slinking down. These two wonderful young ladies, and Jean's going to look at me and go, I gave them an idea. They worked together and just blew it out of the water, and it's amazing. So when you go out and if you see Jean and Taylor, please thank them. So you will notice that there are 3 trellises out there. And one is for our mortar projects. And what we're looking at with mortars, what does it mean to keep the doors open to the church? Obviously all the trustees, the mortgage, the lights, electricity, etc. But also our staff that are here for the administrative work, to be there for when the packages come, when the people call and need a pastor. So those are our mortar things. You're going to notice that on the back, that's the bulk of our budget, and that doesn't seem really reaffirming. Not many of us really want to give money that we've worked hard for a building. But I want you to really tie in, the mortar is in the center, and you're going to see a lot of those expenses. But without that mortar, without that building, without Holly, without Tara, without all the people that are working here just doing the things to keep the building going and the communication going, it would make the other 2 parts so much more difficult. So the other 2 parts are ministry. Ministry is going to be, and I don't remember which side of the trellis, I think it's the one over here. That's the stuff that we're doing for the church that we're already here. So that's our Sunday school. That's our worship service. That's all the kind of things that we do for people who come to this building. So it's more the internal. And then there's the missions. That's the other side of the trellis, the one over here. That's things that we're doing for people outside the building, not expecting anything back in return. It's the kids' closet. It's the Edgelia backpack program. It's LUM's Jubilee, and on and on and on. The food finders things. What you're going to notice when you go and look, especially on the mission side, is you're going to see a lot of things that say, not in the budget, not in the budget, not in the budget, because it's done through volunteers, outside donations, and just a lot of work by people, and it's not reflected in the numbers that you're seeing here. But without the numbers that you're seeing here, it would make it really hard to do the rest. So I really encourage you to continue to go look at those vines, and as you start turning in your pledge cards, as you start making those commitments to volunteer outside of what you're doing now, you're going to start seeing some things growing on those vines as we work together to really not only meet financial needs, but what we're being called to do. And to follow up with what Kurt said, please, if there's something that's in the back of your head going, I really wish, that may be the Holy Spirit asking you to push. So push. Talk to Kurt. Talk to Carol. Talk to Nick. Talk to myself. Talk to somebody who looks like they know something. Okay, that takes me out of the loop. But anyway, there's a lot of things I think that God is wanting for this church to be a part of. And it's not just money, it's you.
Yeah. So, couple things on your, sorry. So we do have the stewardship card that we're asking you to prayerfully consider how you want to support the church. One side is financial. The other side, you'll notice a lot of existing ministries that already have places. If you're not sure where you want to fit in, where you want to bring your gifts to bear, just say, give me a call. We should have just put a give me a call. And somebody from the lay leadership team will call you and talk to you about what are you interested in? What are your passion areas? How can we help you connect and make a difference? So reasons why stewardship is important, and this is going to lead in, and if you have any questions about that, please see me, Becky, who does know more than she's giving herself credit for, and quite frankly has had a difficult year and done a lot given everything. Would you please say thank you to her for the work that she and Nick have both done in helping y'all? It is important for this, not just for the church. Adam Hamilton, when he's doing stewardship, he has 3 questions. Why do people need Jesus? Why do people need the church in general? Why do people need this church? And let me tell you something I didn't have planned because it happened 18 minutes ago. We had a gentleman walk in who was in detox, shaking, needing help. He came here because he heard we were a safe place. Carol and Pastor Bruce took care of him. Because this church exists, somebody just got connected to Services to Help. There's a reason it's important for this church to continue. How many of you have felt welcomed and loved and cared for because this church existed? So why this church? You all have a story of why this church. And so your support matters. The finance. Yes, there is nothing sexy about giving to the Nick Ficina Memorial Electric Bill. Nobody's been like, hey, guess what? Guess what I did? I supported the Nick Ficina Memorial Electric Bill. Woo! No, that is not a conversation that has ever happened. He's the one who refers to it as the memorial. I find that a little bit awkward, but I'm not going to correct it. I think honorary would be better. I'm not the one who named it. It draws more attention. So that's why stewardship and all y'all bringing what you have and who you are to the table matters. That's why it matters. So let's talk about revitalization. I have the last 4 churches I have been at, I have walked them through a revitalization process. It is important because along the way we forget who we are and why we're here. In first service, I shared the consumer mentality of the church is a gift straight out of hell that has not helped us be who God has called us to be. Little preview for all y'all who are coming to second service. You get the answer early. There you go. That would be great. But a part of that has been that we have focused more on programs and less on discipleship. We have forgotten who we are, why we're here, and what we're supposed to do. And so every church starts out with a lot of passion toward those, why we exist, why we're here, what's our purpose. And over time, it gets more into structure and keeping things going the way they've always been, instead of being responsive to the needs of a changing culture. Every single organization does this. Every single organization does. And so revitalization process is about breaking that cycle of decline and helping a church to rediscover its purpose, helping an organization rediscover their why, and figuring out then what and how we do that. So I'm inviting you into this season. How long is this going to take? I had somebody ask me that last week, and my answer is, as long as it takes. That's a better answer. My answer was, huh? Well, we should always be maturing. And the thing that happens is we forget, we remember, then we forget again. So this should be a constant pattern. I want to set a system in place for this church that you have the process, can return to it and start it over again. Wabash First just did that. They're beginning to start their process again. Made Ed Finstermacher's little heart happy when I called him to let him know that the project he and I worked on has worked at least in one church. So how this works, we begin by getting a team of people together who are willing to lead. All of you will be invited, all of you. How many? All of you will be invited to participate in one of 5 ways. Way 1, you will be a leader. The way I shared this at the last church was I said, you were all in, you bought the t-shirt, right? Then they asked for the t-shirt and I didn't have one. I was using it as a euphemism. It was a metaphor. They didn't get. So I'm just saying you will help lead. You'll help convene a group. You will help run the process. That group of people, and this is your first town hall homework, that you would pray, that God would raise that group of people up, and whether that is you. I had everybody from a 6th grader to somebody who was 80 leading groups at the last church. The 6th grader was amazing. He was so much fun. He learned some lessons for life. So the way 1, you'll be invited. Lead, all in, helping to set the process. Way 2, you'll be a part of the learning communities we'll set up. And you will learn, and then you will share that learning with somebody else who can't be involved because of time and life. Life happens, right? Way 3, you'll be a part of the prayer team. Every single one of these people and groups will have a prayer person who will be praying for them and will be attending their sessions to help pray for the process, to make sure that, because let's be honest, if we are revitalizing the church but we don't talk to God about it, that's stupid. So, do I need to say more, or do you get that? Make sense? Way 4, I'm not able to be there, but I want to hear, so I'm willing to learn. So these people, we'll talk with these people. I can't do that. My ring finger won't. We'll talk with these people. There we go. Looks like that was bad. So the 5th way is I'm not able to be involved, but I'm supportive. Because I recognize, and there is no guilt if this is where you're at. If you're like, I am stretched so far, because we have health things. We have stuff. My hope is the majority of our congregation will be in one of those top 4 areas, because we do need a significant enough, what do you call it when you have enough people? Critical mass to move things forward. And so I need that from you. So your first prayer thing to do for this is to pray that God would raise up leaders so we can help set the process and what it's going to look like. I have ideas, I have experience, but it needs to fit this church. And what I did, oh my gosh, 15 years ago, get me a walker. And then again, 9 years ago, is not necessarily what needs to happen here. And I'm going to trust our leaders to work together to figure that out. So, I just threw a lot of stuff at you. The purpose of this is to help us to remember who we are, to get reconnected to our disciple-making core of who God has called us to be. And it will look like a group of, when we get this done as a congregation, we're going to make disciples. And as we make disciples, there are going to be people who make disciples, who are going to learn to live as Jesus lived, so that people like that gentleman who just came in looking for life will find it in all of you and the people you influence and you help form. That's what it looks like. You all have a part to play. How it's exactly going to work? I don't know. How long it'll take? What was it? As long as it takes. As long as it takes. And it's not just a one and done. This is a process of living and remembering. So, any comments or questions on that? Did I see a Jet? Yeah.
So is there going to be a follow-up meeting to this to let us know where we're at and what we're still waiting on?
Is there going to be a follow-up meeting? What we will do is I will give regular updates so the first thing I need y'all to do is pray for the leaders. And so as you all are praying, so you go home today, hey, you get together with Don, hey, I'm going to pray for our church. You call your sister. And that, I'm God's favorite, but you can talk to God too. Just saying, it's how it works. Am I wrong? Hey, Hannah, I'm God's favorite, but you can talk to God too. And we need to talk to God about raising up leaders. And as we see those leaders, we need to tell them, hey, I think God might be calling you. Or as I feel that, I think God might be calling me. Now I need you to communicate that to me so that I can begin gathering that team. My hope is that we can gather that team by the end of November at the latest. Thank you. Good question. I hope somebody wrote that down because that was like wisdom flowing out of my face. It was eloquence too, wasn't it? Any other questions or comments about revitalization? Yeah. Okay, I'm coming. I should have had a runner for this.
My name is Aaron Schrader. Usually I always attend the second service. That's why many of you don't know me, but there's a lot of people in here who came from other churches, are now part of this church. And being at another church and being a former trustee at a larger church, I know what's involved here. And I think that one thing that was mentioned last Sunday was about the chairs, the pews. They need to replace some of them do. And in this revitalization program, we all have to look around and realize that everybody that's in this room cares about the church and this church because they've taken the time out of their day to be here. This church means the world to me, to my wife, and it's a loving church. And we have always, in the last 3 years, had up on the screen about taking Christ into the community. And as taking Christ into the community, we're all disciples of God. And that's why we need to take Christ into the community, so that the community is part of this church. And the sooner we do that, and the sooner that we get out of the pews so that they're not wore out and be participants, then the sooner it all happens. Thank you. Amen.
I had not made that connection. Yep. I'm gonna. I'll start here so I can sit next to my wife, and then I'm gonna let you just pass that.
Glad I could help with that. So I'm going to give the mic back to you in a second because when considering this whole process, I'm a concrete example person, and so this whole thing sounds very abstract to me. And so I was like, okay, Kurt, give me an example of what has come out of this process in a previous church, a concrete example. Could you share the hot dog story?
Yeah. So can I share the hot dog story? So at Wabash, let me just start. I'll give you a couple different stories. At Mooresville, we started doing. They chose not to follow through with the revitalization process. I was not the senior pastor, so but they had a group of young adults who had been a part of the learning portion in the conversation, who realized that mission was important. The way they had done mission trips was what I call ecclesiastical tourism. So they would go to places and work a little bit and tourist a lot. And often when churches from America go into other places and do work, they're actually taking jobs away from local people who could do the work better because they know how things are built there. And so we had a team of people at Mooresville who started doing regular, because with the youth, I did monthly mission projects every single month. What the mission project was, we go help a single mom who's struggling to do her house maintenance, and we winterized that puppy, and we cleaned up the yard, and we helped some of our older people who couldn't do that, and we every month, bang, bang, bang. And they had a group of young adults who continued that process well after I left. I don't know if it's still going or not. At Wabash, they realized, so how many of y'all have been through Wabash, Indiana? Anybody been down 24? At the corner of 24 and State Road 15 is Brandt's Harley Davidson. And back in 1990, that property was offered to Wabash First United Methodist to relocate and build. And they said, no, we like our building. John, I should look back at you because he's back there going, and that plot of ground has, I don't know, 10, 15,000 cars pass it every single day. There's a reason Brandt's bought it and built their Harley Davidson there. But they decided, we love our building. We are going to be a church in the heart of downtown Wabash. That was what they said. It's not what they did. It's what they said. They said, we love our community. It's what they said. It's not what they did. Because for the next 20 years, they had an opportunity to start a youth drop-in center for troubled youth. And one of the guys literally said, not in my building, but I'll give you $25,000 to go build it somewhere else. So Liz took the $25,000 and she went and built it somewhere else, and the Access Youth Center was born on Main Street that serves I don't know how many kids, so we partnered with them. Anyway, they said, we need, in this renewal process, we said we're going to be a church in the heart of the city. We're not going to build out on the outskirts. We said this. So we need to love our neighbors. And so they started praying. Now, most of the people who attended Wabash First, because Wabash First is a very wealthy congregation, the building is the Ford Chapel. It's the castle on the hill, and it's a nice building. But they did very little for their surrounding neighborhood. I see Melody nodding because she's like, yeah, I lived in Wabash. I know those snotty people didn't care about nobody. So they said, we need to care for our neighborhood. So they began praying, prayer walking. And these people who had driven in from outside in the wealthier subdivisions start seeing on the ground. Because when you walk an area, as opposed to driving by, you see it differently. Does that make sense? So they started prayer walking. They prayer walked, and they saw neighbors who had wheelchairs, and they had broken down ramps into their homes, and they couldn't really get into them. They saw neighbors whose kids were filthy on a regular basis. They saw families who they had boards over parts of their windows because they couldn't afford to replace them. They saw the poverty. And they said, what's something we could do? As United Methodists, and we have failed this in the last 20 years, we have stepped away from our tradition. What is the holy relic of United Methodism? Food. The Jewish kid brings in the dreidel. The Catholic kid brings in the rosary. The Methodist kid brings in a covered dish to show and tell about my faith. And we have failed. We have fallen away from that. We've gotten away. But Wabash First decided we need to care for our neighborhood. So one of the things they did was they had a Wednesday night program for kids that would feed anybody who came in. It was part of what we did on Monday nights with our Brianna's Hope. You didn't have to be a part of Brianna's Hope. Well, they did theirs. We did ours on whatever day they did it. I can't remember now. Thursday, Monday. It's been a while. I've slept since then. But anybody could come in and eat, right? But April or May after I was here, one of the beloved members, his wife, went into full-time nursing care. He had been taking care of her because of her Alzheimer's. And Carrie Halderman was walking with her dad as he was struggling to find purpose in life because he had devoted all of his self to caring for his wife. Such a sweet, sweet heart. And she was like, I need to find you something to do. And we had seen the poverty. And so we started, they decided, and this is after I was gone, they decided, you know what, I need to give Dad something to do. The area, everybody needs food. It's what we do as United Methodist. So she bought a trailer, put a grill on the back of it because Dad loved to cook out. And they started the hot dog ministry. And the hot dog ministry once a week went to a different location around that neighborhood and just pop up. You want a hot dog? You want a hot dog, people? And they would tell people they were going to be there. Now they center it out of the church instead of a trailer but they continue to do hot dog ministry. Anybody can come. They hire local artists to come in and do music or other things, and they continue to serve their community. And they are a place where people just like that guy who was looking for some life-saving help come to every single week. And that has continued past COVID. That's continued through now 3 pastoral changes, 2, because it started after I left. They didn't have anybody at that point, so 2 pastoral changes. I had to do the math. Sorry, 2. And they've continued to care for and feed their neighbors every week because somebody saw a need for somebody to be in ministry and had gifts for it, and they saw the needs in the community that could be blessed by their church. Yeah. Okay, we are at 28 after. I have 2 minutes. So I'm going to wrap this up because I need to wrap up. And I'm sorry, if you have other questions or comments, please do talk with me or with Nick or Becky or any of the staff, anybody. Again, we need to. So the things I need for you to do, I left my papers somewhere. I'll go from, no, I had notes for me. There's my wife. She's helping me. You're awesome. So what I need from you, need you to pray. And I need you to pray not just on your own, but pray together with some people in our church, that God would raise up some leaders. And as you see people who you're like, I wonder about that person, because I would follow them. You know, how many of y'all think of yourself as a leader? A couple of you. You get that you are. Most people don't see that they are a leader. If you think you're a leader and nobody's following you, in the words of John Maxwell, you're just taking a walk. If there are people following you, if you do something and people congregate around you, you are a leader. And when I talk about leading this, most of what our groups did was our leaders just convened a group and asked questions. I provided most of the questions. This leadership team will provide most of the questions for those conversations to happen and the learning to happen so that we can help our church to renew, refocus, and figure out how we're going to make new and maturing disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. So, thank you all for your time and your attention. I know there's more to cover. I know that. And in answer to your question, Jeanette, yes, we will reschedule another one of these. As far as getting those leaders together, I would really like, if you're like, I really want to see this happen and I'm willing to do that, please see me today. Please see me today. If you need to pray about it, which I would encourage, please pray about it and talk with me tomorrow. If you see somebody who you're like, I really would love for them to help lead a group, please talk with them. As you're praying, if names come up, please talk with one another. And as that group of however many godly raises up comes together, we'll get moving on that. And once we have that, I will let you know I have this many leaders. I'm ready to move. If God's calling you, join me. We can join people as we go. We're flexible. I know that's a little bit amorphous, and it's like for concrete people, I scare them. Not be the first time I've scared people. So, all right. God bless you all. Thank you. I'm sorry we didn't get to everybody's comments and questions. There are, Carol's got the stewardship things, cards. That's the word I'm looking for. And again, if you're not sure where your gifts belong here, please just say, call me, right? Call me. And if you don't put your name on the other side, I won't know who you are. And I'll just call everybody. It'll be a long time. God bless y'all. Thank you. Boop, boop, boop.